This is not just a story of death. This is the story of a punishment, designed to control empires and rule through fear. What you are about to hear reveals how crucifixion truly worked and why its terror lasted for centuries. Before we begin, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay with us till the end, because this story will change how you see power and punishment forever. In the ancient world, punishment was not designed to correct behavior or offer redemption, but to break resistance and carve fear into the memory of society. And among all the methods created to enforce obedience, none was more calculated, more humiliating, or more terrifying than crucifixion. A punishment designed not simply to kill, but to destroy a human being slowly, publicly, and completely. Because ancient empires understood that fear lasts longer than death. And when fear becomes memory, control becomes easier to maintain. And crucifixion emerged from this belief as a silent language of power, one that required no explanation, only witnesses. The earliest forms of crucifixion appeared in ancient Persia, where rulers sought a way to execute criminals without defiling the earth, and victims were raised above the ground. Suspended between life and death, their suffering displayed as proof of authority, and this idea later passed into the Greek world, where it was reserved for enemies of the state rather than citizens, reinforcing social hierarchy and honor. And when Rome inherited this method, it transformed it into a system, refining it not through mercy but through observation, turning crucifixion into one of the most effective tools of governance the world had ever seen. Rome understood human psychology with chilling clarity, knowing that people fear prolonged suffering more than instant death. And so crucifixion was designed to be slow, unpredictable, and humiliating, sometimes lasting hours, sometimes days, depending on the strength of the victim and the will of the executioners. And Roman law reserved this punishment for slaves, rebels, foreigners, and the powerless, making it clear whose lives were protected by law and whose were expendable. And as Rome expanded, crosses followed its armies, lining roads and city entrances, turning ordinary landscapes into warnings that taught obedience without words. Once a person was sentenced, the punishment began immediately, because the knowledge of what awaited was itself a form of torture, and the condemned was stripped of dignity, beaten, mocked, and paraded through public streets, reduced from a human being into an example, because shame was as important as pain in maintaining control. And this public procession ensured that fear spread beyond the individual, reaching families, children, and entire communities. Before reaching the cross, most victims were scourged, whipped with instruments designed to tear flesh rather than bruise it, weakening the body, increasing blood loss, and ensuring that death on the cross would come sooner but not quickly. And already exhausted, bleeding, and exposed, the condemned was forced to carry part of the cross through crowded roads, stumbling under its weight while soldiers enforced the spectacle, because the journey itself was part of the punishment. At the execution site, the body was fixed to the cross with ropes or nails and raised into position, and from that moment, crucifixion revealed its true design, because the posture of the body made breathing possible only through constant painful effort, forcing the victim to lift their weight again and again just to inhale, turning survival itself into suffering. And with every movement, wounds reopened, nerves burned, and strength drained away. As hours passed, muscles cramped, joints strained, and shoulders partially dislocated, while dehydration intensified under the sun or cold air. Insects gathered on open wounds, and the inability to brush them away deepened the sense of helplessness, and pain evolved from sharp sensations into a constant, consuming ache that filled the body and clouded the mind. While oxygen levels dropped, the heart struggled to compensate, and confusion set in as the brain was slowly deprived of air. Death on the cross did not arrive cleanly, but through overlapping failures, suffocation caused by the inability to breathe properly, heart failure from stress and oxygen deprivation, shock from trauma and fluid loss, or deliberate intervention when authorities chose to hasten the end. And even after death, dignity was often denied, as bodies were left exposed or discarded without ceremony, extending punishment beyond life itself. Crucifixion was never meant to end with the individual, because its true purpose was public. And this is why crosses were placed along busy roads, outside city gates, and in open spaces where they could not be ignored, turning movement into memory and memory into obedience. And over time, communities learned to submit, not because they believed in justice, but because they remembered the cross, the silence after screams, and the bodies left hanging as warnings. Children grew up seeing crucifixions as part of the world around them, learning fear before courage, while adults warned one another not through speech but through silence, because fear does not need explanation once it has been learned. And for the Roman state, this system was efficient, requiring fewer soldiers and less constant violence, because once fear settled into society, it enforced itself. Yet this public cruelty carried a hidden weakness, because constant exposure to suffering can dull obedience as much as it enforces it. And while many became numb, others began to question, especially when the condemned were remembered as innocent or unjustly punished. And in those moments, the cross no longer silenced stories but created them, whispered in homes and carried through generations. Over time, one crucifixion in particular was remembered not as a warning, but as a moral turning point. And through remembrance, belief, and reflection, the meaning of the cross began to change, transforming from a symbol of terror into a symbol filled with interpretation, sacrifice, and identity. And once a punishment becomes meaningful, it loses its power as fear. And centuries later, as laws evolved and moral thinking shifted, crucifixion was abolished, not because it failed, but because it had become incompatible with societies that increasingly questioned extreme public cruelty. Yet the cross did not disappear, because symbols born from deep suffering rarely do, and instead, it became one of the most recognized images in human history, representing endurance, injustice, sacrifice, or hope, depending on who looked at it and why. And this dual nature is what gives crucifixion its lasting significance, because it stands as both a warning and a lesson, reminding humanity how easily power can turn cruelty into law, and how unexpectedly that same cruelty can reshape belief, challenge authority, and outlive the empires that created it.